Hello everybody, David Daisher here with Transmotion Medical. Today we're going to talk about lean in healthcare. So why is my healthcare facility implementing lean? Or why should I implement lean in my healthcare facility? Well, right now, healthcare costs have been growing and reimbursement rates are going down, and they're going to continue to go down. So there's that gap there between our operational costs and reimbursement rates. Healthcare facilities are turning to lean to bridge that gap, to bring that gap down so we maintain our operational efficiencies, and then our bottom line as well. So today what we're going to talk about is I'm just going to give you a little history of lean, an overview of where it came from, why should I implement it, and then why do I need to do it now. Lean has been around for a very long period of time. It's not something that was just created yesterday, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. There's actually documented cases of lean being implemented as far back as the 1450s. But as a lean community, we point to Henry Ford, the early 1900s, when he created the first automobile assembly line. A lot of lean principles and lean methodologies were put in place there, as far as point of use inventory, those types of things were put in place initially by Henry Ford. Now, first of all, lean's first improvement activity was by a gentleman by the name of Daisher. In the early 1930s, what Daisher did was he studied lean principles that were put in place by Henry Ford and said, that's all well and good if I want an assembly line that does one automobile with one model option. Okay? Toyota didn't want to do that. They wanted to create assembly lines that were multiple models and multiple variations of each one of those models coming off of one assembly line. So Daisher learned Henry Ford's principles and built upon those and invented what we call today the Toyota production system. There's books out there that you can read to learn about the Toyota production system. There's seminars that you can go to. But everything in the lean community basically is birthed from this production system. Early on in my lean career, when I spent some time at the Toyota production plant in Kentucky, a gentleman came out at the beginning of our training session and he said, we here at Toyota have been doing lean for over 50 years and we've just begun our journey. Now over the years that's resounded with me time and time again because it's a good indication to say that it's not a band-aid we put in place. It's not something we put in place and then say, hey, it's done and we're going to walk away. No, it's a methodology, it's a mindset, it's a way of life that we can continuously improve over time to get closer and closer to a process that has no waste. So what is lean? We'll get right to it. The core idea is to maximize the value to the customer while minimizing waste. Simply put, lean means creating more value for the customer with fewer resources. And in healthcare, our customer is the patient. The ultimate goal of lean is to provide a perfect process with zero waste. Okay? So what is a process? What is waste? Well, we'll touch on that now. A process is a collection of interrelated work tasks. Everything we do in life, from making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, to getting ready for work in the morning, to driving to work in the morning, those are all processes. Those can be broken down to tasks, interrelated tasks that create a specific result. And here's an example of one of those process diagrams with interrelated work tasks. Now when I go into a facility and I walk through the process with a nurse or a clinician or the CFO, or I've done improvement activities, there's actually 3 versions of the process. Okay? The first version is what we think the process is. The second is what the process actually is. And then lastly, with lean being implemented in the methodology, it's what could the process be. If you look first, what we think our process is pretty simplified. I walk into a healthcare facility and I say, hey, what do you do for same-day surgery? And the nurse is like, oh, it's real simple. The patient walks in the door, they sit in the waiting room area. When we're ready for them, we take them back to the pre-op area. When the OR is available, we move them to OR, do the procedure, take them through phase 1 recovery, phase 2 recovery, and then we discharge them out the back door. Okay? Very simplified version of what actually is being done. But as we take the time and we walk through the process, say, hey, I'm David and I'm your patient, go ahead and treat me like the patient and walk me through all those activities. You'll see here there's a lot more detail, a lot more interrelated work tasks involved than what was just identified early on by the nurse. And through lean methodologies and lean practices, what we do as a group, we facilitate the group through different exercises, and we go step by step through each one of those interrelated work tasks, and we identify, is that value added to the patient or not value added to the patient? Okay, of the ones that are not value added, is it something that can be removed from our process, or do we need to keep that in place? Okay, and then lastly, once we identify every interrelated work task that is waste, that's not adding value to the customer, if we were able to remove all of those, what we come up with is what the process could be in a perfect world. Now, I'm a realist, and I know that there's no such thing as perfection. But in the lean world, if we can move from what actually is closer to what it could be, that's a win for us. That's a win for you, and that's a win for your facility. So what is waste? I've talked a lot about waste. What is waste? Waste is any resource that's consumed by activities that do not add value to your services from the perspective of the customer. So from the perspective of the patient, am I adding value? Am I doing something that they would pay extra money for, or would they not pay money for that? So those are the questions that we ask when we're going through that activity. Here's just some different types of waste that exists out there. You can read through those, and they do exist in every process. But the main ones that I look at are the waste of waiting. How long are we waiting for the patient to arrive? How long are we waiting for the doctor to arrive? How long are we waiting for just people to get to where they need to go, or to gather a team of people to move the patient from one device to the other? Transportation, moving patients, moving equipment, moving things from one location to the other, going to find a piece of equipment to bring that back to present that to the patient or put the patient on that device. So there's many, many different types of waste, and I just touched on a few of those. So you're sitting there, you're like, that's great, David. You just talked about assembly, you talked about automobile assembly, but this is healthcare. It's different. Yes, it is different, and I realize that. And what we've learned over the years and years and years that we've been doing lean is that we've learned enough to implement it in more dynamic processes. Okay? Automobile industry, it's kind of simple. You take part A, take part B, you put them together, you always get part C. Okay? It's less dynamic than healthcare. But the methodologies, the principles, and the practices can be applied to healthcare. Okay? But the overall factor is that waste of money, time, supplies, or goodwill decreases the value to the patient, decreases the value to the facility as well. So why now? Why all of a sudden is there this big boom with lean in healthcare? Why should I implement it in my facility? Why is my facility implementing it? Well, the number one reason, and we touched on that earlier, is reimbursement rates are going down. Operational costs are up, reimbursement rates are going down. They're going to continue to go down. And we cannot maintain the facility, we can't maintain our profit margin when we have that big a gap. Okay, so we need to do something different, and lean is the answer. There's extreme pressures to improve clinical outcomes because clinical outcomes are tied to reimbursement rates. Okay, the pressures that I talked about with the bottom line, if I'm a healthy healthcare facility and I'm operating at 4, 5, 6% profit margin, and my reimbursement rates are going down 13, 15, 18%, you can see very quickly that I'm going to be in the red, and I can't continue to operate in the red for a very long time. So in order to keep our doors open 5, 10, 15 years down the road, we need to do something different. Also with lean and implementing lean, you can improve your overall patient experience. Because if I eliminate the waste, the non-value-added activities, the things that the patients don't see that are valuable from my process, I just increase my overall patient experience. Okay? And lastly, the Joint Commissions recommend that Lean Six Sigma principles be applied to enhance operational excellence. So hopefully you're able to see a little bit about lean, a little understanding of where lean came from, why the facility is implementing lean, or why you should implement lean, and why you need to do it now. I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate your attention. If you have any questions whatsoever about this video or any of the other videos that I've created, please email me. There's my LinkedIn profile and also my cell phone number. As a service, what we do is you can invite me in to look at your process, walk through your process, and recommend process improvements that can be done in a very cost-effective manner. Thank you very much and have a great day.